Hey, Coach, you're
Hey,
here.
what's happening?
Oh, doing great. This is awesome. Actually, my buddy Andrew, I'm Chris, by the way, my buddy Andrew, who does the show, who's actually a Vermont alum, he jumped off. He was writing your athletic department's team, but thank you so much for taking the time to join
Yeah.
today. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How you guys doing well?
Yeah, definitely. It's super cool. I've never personally met a national champion before, so first off, congratulations! Huge, huge for you personally and for the school.
Yeah, appreciate that. Um, we're not going to say once in a lifetime experience because we want to do it again, but it was, our community was amazing. Our team is a special group, loves being together, and the chemistry they built was, you know, really, really interesting story to it. So, love to chat with you guys about that.
Hi, Coach Dow. This is native Vermonter but current California resident Andrew Martin. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks for having me.
I suspect the weather's a little bit cooler where you are than where we are.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll
My
get us started
son's out
first.
with a school snow day today, so
Oh, yeah. We're getting a little rain here, but we still have to go in.
oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, I'll get us started. Well, first of all, thank you again for joining us, and congratulations, which I'm sure you've heard a couple of times about the title as a native Vermonter and two-time UVM alum. Couldn't be prouder. I'm sure.
Nope, Andrew, are you there? I don't know what happened. It looks like he cut out.
It's
Um,
coming. Must be the rain.
Yeah, it is kind of storming and some high winds. And while he's buffering and
Yeah.
getting his signal back, I'm going to ask you, Coach. You went on like a historic run. You beat Iona, Hofstra, Pitt, and Denver on the way to beating Marshall in the national championship. And I guess my first question is, how did you prepare your squad mentally to take on the challenges of those, quote unquote, bigger schools?
Yeah, I think there's been a bit of a pedigree here over the last 3 years where we played some top programs and they've gotten great results. You talk about SMU, you talk about tying Syracuse in the regular season the year that they won the national championship. Talk about UCF and then where they were ranked last season, and um, so there wasn't fear going into the game from our guys' standpoint because we had guys like Zach Barrett and Max Murray and Adrian Solano, Yaniv Bazzini, all calm, composed, and offering confidence and support to some of the younger guys, new guys. But um, it seems more of like the tall order. I remember talking to Mike Noonan, who's head coach at Clemson, after the 2022 run that we had. Like, how do you win a national championship? And he thought at that time, and not to discredit him, but he would strongly believe like you got to have at least two home games in the
Mm.
NCAA tournament because there's just so many variables in which you have to manage with traveling at that time of the year. And last year we got hit with the flu bug between UCF and
Oh.
West Virginia. We had 12 guys with the flu, and because we're traveling from Orlando back to Burlington, Thanksgiving weekend, and we all know what the airports are like at that time, and what's kind of the germ pool that's going on in those spaces. And that was really tough. Like we're in West Virginia wearing masks again, and on Tamiflu, eating in our separate locations so we don't spread the flu.
Mm.
Um, so the fact that we dodged bullets there of those types of variables was we probably got lucky with that. Um, but more so not thinking about the daunting task of once we beat Iona, we have to go to Long Island and back, which on Thanksgiving weekend to drive there is just as long as going to San Diego in an airplane, you know? Um, and then coming home, you know, maybe thinking we were going to host the next game because of the ranking situation. But we're going to San Diego. It was a game at a time mentality, a game at a time. Let's be fortunate where we are. There's a lot of good communication spread throughout the group about just let's focus on being here right now.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
awesome. I apologize for the little delay. We actually lost power where I am, so I had to switch over my internet connection. We're having a windy day here. So yeah, the question I wanted to ask is, do you have anything that you can pinpoint as kind of like the defining moment or really like a defining game from this season where you're like, we're really onto something here?
Yeah. Look, it was our mission here to win a national championship, but we all knew that it was going to be a tall order, and um, where you had to create your luck, and we had to be healthy, and we had to, um, uh, get better as a team as we went. I felt like all of those factors throughout the season were a extremely rocky road,
Mhm.
e- especially around our health, especially kind of like consistent performances in a trajectory where we felt like we were getting better. We were like up and down and just like plugging holes, all season
Mhm.
long with injuries. And once we felt like we were healthy, got a little complacent. But there were lots of good teaching moments. And we had a really important conversation after our UMass game on the field. After the game, we went down 2-0 in that match, came back to tie it 2-2. Carried the momentum through the game, um, and we felt like we should have won that one. And that's no discredit again to UMass because they finished in the round of
Right.
8 and had an amazing season. But if we beat UMass and maybe we don't tie one of our conference games, I think we get seeded. You talk about how close we were in those conversations, but it was a bit of inconsistency, complacency, injury stuff. But once we hit, not until, but once we hit playoffs in the America East tournament of losing to UMBC in the regular season, but then beating in overtime and home, we were like, okay, we're healthy. We put together a gritty performance. We won the game in a clutch moment. Our striker Yannick Bazzini was producing. It's we felt like what we designed, you know, in preseason at that
Right.
time of the year.
Right. And a follow up to that, obviously you had a really well put together squad, and every coach has their own system. What do you look for when you're going out recruiting? What does someone have to do, or what skills do they have to play for you?
Yeah, there's talent everywhere. I mean, such a broad market in which soccer recruits from in the global game. Um, but we focus on identifying and we put a lot of value in intangible talents. The guys that are willing to do the little things. Um, and those little things are the items in the game and in the locker room and um, in their own apartments, so forth. That what they do for the team or each other that nobody notices that makes the greatest impact. We had a little bit of saying a few years ago that carried throughout the program was, little things make the big things. But we would every time that someone did something that was unnoticed but made a great impact, they would take a sledgehammer and pound at this giant rock in our locker room. They would pound the rock, and no one knew it was, you know, eventually the rock was going to crack, but because just there's no signs of that, right?
Right.
Um, and that stuck with us. That culture has stuck with us, and we go out and we recruit, we look at individuals, we're looking at when something happens in a game that, is below their expectations, or, we look at body language after those moments, how an individual celebrates after a goal. Is it by themselves or is it with their teammates? We look at um, how they match up on set pieces. Are they doing their jobs? Um, Taking accountability. Will they track on the weak side and continue with their man, even if he's not going to get the ball or look like he's going to get the ball? Those are the types of things. Talent helps. Don't get me wrong. It certainly makes a coach's life a little less stressful in the game moments, because maybe you can get like you know, as we all know, top players find a way, to win games. But I feel like you look at this team and what we've kind of accumulated over the last few years, more so this team than ever. We were probably the least talented team than when you compare the 23 team and the 22 team, of those three groups. But the intangible talents, we had 8, 9 guys that were, A pluses in the intangible talent category.
Yeah. Chris.
Yeah. So, Coach, most of the things that Andrew and I do are related to the USL Championship level.
Mm.
I'm wondering if you can just speak for a moment about the difference between the college game and the professional game that you've noticed.
Yeah. I mean, USL Championship uh, level is extremely high and has evolved. I mean, if you think of like um, where the MLS has gone, and being a top 10 league in the world, you
Hmm.
know, and then the USL Championship, like making this division in the USL, USL One to USL Championship, and then just multiple years of now increasing salaries, um, fan environments that are, what everyone wants to play, in front of. Um, it feels like what the MLS was, probably, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, or 10 years ago. I don't want to be fully on the record of that number, but something like that.
Right.
Um, it does, and it's harder and harder for college players to get opportunities
Mm.
in the USL Championship. It- the USL Championship teams are retaining their players. Um, so um, I know, like Yaniv Bazzini, um, he's looking to play in that league. Uh, he's probably between preseasons right now. I think he just finished at Birmingham and um, hopefully headed to maybe Pittsburgh. We'll see. Um, but he's a top. I mean, he's a. There weren't many nines in the NCAA this past year that were better than Yaniv.
Mm.
Let's be that's He's a national champion. Um, he scored in every big game in the most clutch moments, and is still trying to find a USL championship team. Put that in perspective.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I want to be aware of the time. We're really grateful for you joining us today. I want to, I guess, end with one final question, unless Chris has anything else, which is, how do you follow up on 2024 from a personal and a coaching perspective? What do you do from here?
Yeah, I want to make sure as we began the conversation, I always want to make sure that people know that this was something that's been in the making, and it's not a one-time wow, Leicester City, type comparison. And the Leicester's been able to, you know, be successful in England afterward, but at the same time, like we're in the NCAA tournament early out in the first round in 21, 22. Round of 8, 23, round of 16, 24, national champion. Um, we need to sustain national championships. We need to sustain that culture. Um, and that is the mission. That's the target. This is possible. So change the narrative here um, is a big part of my job. Um, I know our fans believe it here in Vermont. They're the best fans in the country. Um, we just need to get people to see throughout the country at the University of Vermont as a soccer powerhouse. Um, and then as we go forward, um, hardest year. It's going to be the hardest year, right? Because up
Right.
until someone else wins the national championship, we want it to be us. We're, um, people are going to be gunning for us. We're the target. All in mixed with the fact that um, we're trying to celebrate this still.
Right.
We just had a parade, you
Yeah.
know. So how do you level your team and go to the trenches and develop our chemistry and culture and go through this team building process, but also still see yourself as national champions. It'll be the hardest year, but our boys are up for the challenge for sure, and we got an amazing group coming back, and we're prepared to repeat.
That's awesome. Well, enjoy the moment as long as you can, and we wish you all the best for the upcoming season and getting through a rugged Vermont winter. Thank you again for joining the Union Report today, and we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, and and same to you as UVM alum and out on the West Coast, and the
Yeah.
Catamount country lives alive to its
Yep.
fullest. So appreciate you bringing me on here and continue to spread the word about our program.
All right. Well, thanks again. And I guess that's it for now. Thank you for tuning into the Union Report. We'll have this on our Instagram and also up on YouTube at some point, I believe, right, Chris?
That is
Yeah.
correct. Thank you again, Coach. Go
Chris,
Catamounts. And for everyone that joined, we're so thankful. Um, you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you guys next time.
thanks,
All
Chris.
right.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you guys.